Hello, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Boom. It's been hit. The
button's been hit?
The button has been hit.
Do we just stand back and wait now for whatever is going to happen?
Stand back. It's starting
to bubble. The countdown clock is on?
The countdown clock is on. It's starting to bubble. Yeah, it's starting to bubble. And,
yeah, it's been bubbling a long time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to turn my phone off. If you don't mind, I'm going to turn my phone off. I don't want to get any messages while I'm doing this. How do I sound?
You sound marvelous.
Yeah, I don't sound annoyed?
Well, marvelously annoyed.
I'm in one of those moods. My timing is off again today.
Uh-oh.
I managed to, just so long as Martyn Jenkins doesn't show up, we'll be good to go.
There we go.
Yeah, we don't need the wonder from down under right now.
But on the plus side, he can tell us what's going on in the future.
That's true. But that's kind of an old joke, isn't it? It never works. He has yet to tell us what's going to happen.
Except that we don't need to worry about running out and doing whatever because the nuclear holocaust is hit, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? Technically,
no, I don't know what.
I guess if a meteor hit Australia first, he could say, guys, you know, I'm just starting to watch a movie on Netflix called Don't Look Up, I think it is. I thought it was very odd because it had that heartthrob guy from Titanic. What's his name?
Brad Pitt?
No, he's the other heartthrob guy from Titanic.
I've never seen the movie Titanic.
Really?
So. Really?
Martyn, you're a big screen guy. You know all the movies.
Me know all the movies? Yeah. Do you know what the last movie was that I went to see?
What was the last movie you went to see?
I think it was Forrest Gump.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's him, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for your help, guys.
Yeah, not a problem.
We do what we can.
Yeah.
We do what we can.
Did you not listen to me just a minute ago? I said my timing is off, and it's like I need help. I don't need to be carrying this friggin' thing all by myself.
Ah. So what you're saying, we should have been efforting to find out who was a star.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh. Martyn, make a note for next time.
We should have used the Google machine, I suppose.
That's it.
At this point of the proceedings, right at this exact moment of the proceedings, I have no idea whether this is a segment or an actual show.
Ooh.
Because we're going to talk to Martyn Jenkins, Bruce. You and I are going to talk to Martyn Jenkins specifically.
Yes, we are.
And
it's a good thing because he's here with us.
Yeah. And I have yet to, in my entire life, I have yet to find 5 minutes of useful time talking to Martyn Jenkins. So that's
we'll pull something out for
that's not true. That was, you know what, Martyn, that was rude, and I apologize.
Well, you never know what rabbit hole we could go running down because I'm famous for rabbit holes. So.
Yeah, you're famous.
This is true. You got several on the go.
So we're doing this. We're rattling the cages again, Bruce.
Yes.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. So I don't know whether this is a segment or an actual show, depending on the length of our conversation. However, Do you know if this is the last segment or show since the last segment or show?
Ooh,
do you know if this is the next?
Ask me if it's last podcast. Yeah, that's on the board.
If it's the next,
I'm going to use my vast engineering.
Wait a minute! Time out! I'm calling time out from the sidelines. I should have said. Do you know if this is the next segment or podcast since the last segment or podcast?
Yeah, I'm still going to have to look and extrapolate though, because Anyhow, yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. So let's do it. Let's do this. We're going to have either a show or a segment. And the reason we're doing this is because, Martyn, we're going to cause trouble again. Here at the old AML Nation, we're rattling the cages. We're running the flagpole up the. We're
running the flagpole up the boat.
Yeah, we're running the flag. We're running the flagpole up the creek. Running it up the flagpole. I'm telling you, my timing is way off right now. I'm trying to do about 3 things at once. I'm trying to think of
deep breaths. Calm.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm just going to let this fly on its own. We'll see. We'll see how entertained Scott Lister is by the time he listens to this one.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, Rod's probably already turned off, and then he'll turn it back on in 10 minutes.
Yeah. And
Rod, if you're listening, come back in about 10 when we get to the good stuff.
Yeah, and James Henry's out there, and Wayne Mohan. That's what we need. Is what show was that? And I see such and such, and I see such and such.
Romper Room.
Was that Romper Room?
Yeah. We had Romper Room here.
Did you?
She gets the magic.
We had Romper Room in Australia. I see Jimmy in the back there. And
that's what I should do.
There's Billy way out in the outback.
There's Billy. Yeah. Oh, I see little Jimmy. Yeah, little Susie being eaten by an alligator, crocodile.
Yep.
Stumper boo.
We haven't talked to you for a while, Martyn.
It has been a while. There's been a few things on the go, and a few things have changed. And it has been a while.
What's changed?
Oh, I've changed work. I've gone back to teaching again, and
no, we knew about that. We knew all about
that. And there's been a few things in the model railroading fraternity that have changed. I'm now involved with the board of directors at the NMRA.
I think we knew that too. Yeah, I guess this is only going to be about a 5-minute show. So far,
what do you reckon? It's going to be a 5-minute segment?
Yeah, exactly. Because we knew you were gone back to teaching. We knew you were the director at large. Just exactly. You are the director at large, worldwide director at large of the NMRA, right?
That's correct at the moment.
So, just how big of a man are you?
I'm too big.
Oh, come on, that joke sets itself up.
Boom, boom.
Exactly. So, what's your waist size?
It's put it this way: Barnum and Bailey, I think, make a tent that's. I'll have a tent that's about that size.
Oh,
usually when I go and buy a jacket, it usually comes from Barnum and Bailey, and it usually has the band inside as well.
Okay. It's the equivalent of the dash and camper down there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason we're doing this, let's see if we can pick up the pace here a little bit. Let's see. The reason we're doing this is because NMRA elections are coming up. Martyn, you're up for election in the NMRA. Is that correct?
That is correct. This year we have the elections for at-large worldwide director, the Atlantic District Director, and the Western District Director.
And what's the Atlantic one? Who's that? Where's
the
that?
Atlantic one is Mike Arnold, who's from the UK. He's one of Gordy's countrymen.
So is there nobody in the NMRA executive anymore from North America? Or is everybody from places around the world?
There's, out of the 9 directors, 4 of the directors are now not based in the USA.
So there's you, Mike Arnold,
and Rob Peterson.
Who's he? What director is he?
He's the Pacific District Director, so he's for Australia and New Zealand and Southeast Asia.
Where's he from?
And he's from Sydney. I know Rob quite well.
Okay.
I've met him a few times at different conventions and different train show and events here in Australia.
And who's the other guy?
And then there's the Canadian District Director, who I believe is coming up, who was elected last year. So
he's in North America.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're North America, but not from the USA.
No, but North America.
Yeah.
So we got 2 Australians directors.
Correct.
We have 2 people on the executive from Britain, British Isles, the British Isles. They're the NMRA president. What's his name? Gordy.
Yes. Yeah. He only just makes the British Isles because he's right on the tip of it.
Yeah, exactly. So now, how long have you been? When is the election? What exactly is the election?
The election is open to basically, for the worldwide director, everybody in all different regions. So Australia, the British region, the Canadian region, and all the US regions.
Yeah, I said I said when, not what.
When it's coming up. I've just finished it'll be March, I believe. The paperwork will be sent out.
Bruce, you're usually up on this kind of stuff.
I'm working on
it. Are you efforting?
Yeah.
All right.
I believe March the election paperwork will be emailed out to everyone, but it goes worldwide, so everybody in every region can vote for the worldwide director.
Right.
Whereas the others are based on their regions. So the Atlantic District Director, the guys in Australia wouldn't be voting for him.
Okay. So, but we don't know exactly the dates?
March, I believe, the election details go out. Then it'll be June when it's announced.
But when you don't know the exact dates of when the election are?
No, I know, because I'm looking here now on the
NMRA website's a pain in the ass to find anything.
Yeah.
By the way.
And it's being changed all the time.
And I believe they're supposed to be improving that.
Yes, it's being changed all the time. That's the problem. I go back to look for something, and it's now in a more logical place.
Yeah, right.
Well, they need to have this. They need to make this very plain and simple for people. That's one of my bugaboos. You know, the first time we talked to Gordy, when he did he was part of the Christmas shows when we did the State of the Hobby. But the show before that, we talked to him for about an hour and a half, didn't we, Bruce?
We did indeed.
Yeah, and I spent a good amount of that time yelling at him about the fact. What? Well, I spent a good amount of time just because he's my friend and and I'm proud of him for all the work he does. Doesn't mean I'm not going to yell at him. I was yelling at him because there used to be a really cool NMRA headquarters, and now it's just a post office box. And I don't like this fact that everything is clandestine in the NMRA. And this is the same kind of thing. You know, we're talking about the election, but we don't have the exact dates. And why aren't the exact dates of the election obvious to everybody?
I don't believe that's been posted on the website as yet. I believe it was the beginning of January that went up. I know I've done all the candidate statement and filled out all the paperwork.
Yeah, the candidate statements are up.
Oh, yeah, where are they on that website?
I had to search for 2022 election.
Okay, so if I go in the search box and go 2022 election,
and the only thing that's showing up right now is the statements.
This is always one of the most exciting parts of the podcast is when I'm typing.
Yes,
on the on the intranet. Okay, your search. I put 2022 election. Your search yielded no results.
Are you on the member side or the non-member side?
I guess I'm in the non-member side. How do I get into the member? Well, how do I log in as a member?
Up at the top of say log in.
It says log in.
I don't know what my password is.
Uh-oh.
How would I?
Anyhow.
Well, how would I find out what my password is?
It's the Australian ones. It's the membership.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's your membership number.
Oh, okay. So that's in my wallet. All right, you guys talk. You guys are going to have to. I'm going to go get my wallet, and I'm going to go get my membership card.
So anyhow,
hang on. You guys are going to be wildly entertaining for the next 5 minutes.
Okay, wildly entertaining. Well, let's go completely off down a rabbit hole, Martin.
Yep.
What about your radio controlled 187th cars? How are you coming?
Okay, well, yes, they're progressing. I've just actually had a chassis and a package arrive from my friend in Hong Kong, which I hadn't heard from in ages.
Right.
And I've now got a Volkswagen Beetle chassis here.
Nice.
And I've got a Land Rover Discovery chassis. So
okay.
I've got a Bush Land Rover Discovery body to put on there. So because they don't come obviously with the bodies, they're just the chassis, the drivetrain, and the likes. But the Land Rover has got, same as the Mercedes, it's got fully independent suspension.
Really?
It's all made out of brass, machined brass. It's four-wheel drive, and there are two differentials in there. And I would have to say that these would have to be the world's smallest differentials.
I would think.
They're 1.3 mil in diameter by 3 mil in length.
Wow.
So
that's incredible.
That's the size of them. So
that's absolutely incredible. So how many cars do you have now?
I've got a Mercedes G-Wagon, I've got a Porsche race car, and I've got these two to build now, which is the V-Dub. Now, the V-Dub I'm going to do as Herbie, so it'll be number 53.
Number 53, yes.
Yep.
The love bug.
So, yeah, it's made a few changes on the layout because, of course, with these cars now, we want to make sure we've got somewhere to run them. So a bit of track work has come up and a bit more roadway has actually gone down instead.
Oh, so the roadworks department has been busy.
Yes, yeah, and we're probably going to be selling off a few boxes of track because I don't think I'll need all the track that I've bought for the layout. But anyway, we shall.
Pretty soon you're going to have an HO layout for your cars, and that'd be it.
Well, that's it. I mean, we've even got a couple of guys in our club that are going down this rabbit hole as well, and they're actually thinking about forming a HORC club.
Wow.
And we just basically go around to different model railway groups and run on their layout, but run on their roads.
Nice.
So,
nice.
yes.
And these things, I recall, they're not totally ridiculously expensive, are they?
No, well, these chassis I'm getting out of Hong Kong are usually around about the $130, $140 American price.
Considering what you're getting is like a fine piece of Swiss watch.
Exactly. I mean, the guy that makes them is a watchmaker. Right. So, it's really high precision. If you see some of the videos and photos that I've put out there on the YouTube channel, it's a cut above the Fowler type plastic steering mechanism.
And just remind us, what is your YouTube channel? What would we look for?
It's Marty's Train Shed. So if you went to YouTube and typed in Marty's Train Shed, that'll take you to the YouTube channel, and there's some videos on there I think, of the four-wheel drive chassis. So you can see those all there, and drop us a line, and I can always give you the link to the guys in Hong Kong. Although he has gone very quiet now. He's gone down the drone rabbit hole. So
all right,
he, like me, dabbles in a whole bunch of different things, and all of a sudden
there's nobody like you.
Well, I go down enough rabbit holes, but
don't lead people astray.
So, did you find your membership card?
I did, and I also got a snack.
Oh, what'd you get for a snack?
It's a little bit of Christmas chocolate. So how long will this take? Will this work now, or does it take a while or something?
No, it should be virtually instantaneous, I believe. Once you've registered, it should let you in.
I wonder what this is going to sound like as a podcast when I listen to it. So far, it sounds really boring to me.
See, I think you need some of the sound effects. There's that music of the guy playing the typewriter.
So he says a valid email address. All emails from the system will be sent to this address. The email address is not made public and will only be used if you wish to receive new password or wish to receive certain news or notifications by email. This is opt-in. That means I'm opting into what? To get notifications?
You'll get things like the turntable or
the turntable and the
bulletin and stuff like that.
Further instructions have been sent to your email address.
Ooh.
There you go. Speed sent you an email.
Did Speed send me an email?
Well, he's the IT manager, so...
All right.
Speed or his minions have interacted.
Somebody has interacted with me, so now I got to go over to my personal email and click on that.
And this is riveting podcasting here, folks.
It is riveting podcasting.
So we should be doing like in the Gulf voice here. Lionel, he's carefully checking his email now.
Yeah, exactly.
Shanked it a little bit to the right there.
He's now clicking.
But he's right on the fringe of the first cut.
He's clicking on Gmail. Oh, there's something from the National Model Railroad Association. Account details for Modeler's Life at National Model Railroad Association.
Ooh.
Thank you for registering at the National Model Railroad Association. You may now log in by clicking this link or copying and pasting it to your browser. Okay, I'm going to do that. Boom, let's see what happens. Now it says reset password. Now I have to
reset your password.
All other users to contact you via personal contact form, which keeps your email address hidden. Sure, okay. Blah, 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 blah. Save. I'm hitting save now. The changes have been saved.
Ooh.
All right. So now what happens?
Are you on the member side?
I don't know. How would I know?
Look up at the top.
And what would I see?
It will say something like up near the top should be like member
Does it
log
say
out.
log out?
Yeah, that's log
Member
out.
info
Yeah.
Okay, so you're
Right,
in.
well, you're
So
in.
now I'm going to try.
Now do your search for 2022 election.
All right, 2022 election.
Election.
Somebody has to write in, Rich Winiski, and tell me, is this like it's incredibly and boring as it seems like it is to me? There it is. I found it.
Look at that.
Yay!
So like
There
I'm
we
in.
go.
Now, we proved that Lionel can navigate his way onto the NMRA
Yes, it's
user
usable.
page, so that means there's no excuse that any member can't get
Yeah,
onto the member page.
I would say basically that was fairly user friendly.
Yeah.
A tip of the hat. Who would we give a tip of the hat to exactly?
Well, Speed is the manager of the
You're
the
doing
IT
it. You're
minions.
doing it. You're doing it again. One word. Speed. Who? Who is Speed?
Speed Muller.
Speed Muller. He lives in Texas, doesn't he?
He lives in Texas. He's a Namibian living in Texas, modeling Namibian railways, but operating it in a US style.
He's originally from the country of.
Namibia.
Yeah, I don't think you're saying it right. You want to take a crack at that, Bruce?
What, Namibia?
Yeah. Namibia?
Namibia.
I can't say it.
Yeah.
So it's Gert, Gert Muller is the guy now in charge of basically the guy in charge of the website or the IT or whatever.
He looks after all the IT, which includes the website. He's got a little army of helpers underneath him, and Brad Anderson out here in Australia, he's one of them. So they look after the website and all the IT, the emails and other bits and pieces that happen in the background that probably a lot of people don't see.
All right. Don Iris, I know you're in your shed, in your train barn listening to this. I want to know if this sounds interesting or not. It seems like it's getting more interesting. Okay, so...
Seeing as we're talking about the website,
yes.
what do you know when the anticipated rollout of the new version of the website is,
No,
Martin?
I have no idea.
No, I've not been told when that's going to happen, but I know there's bits and pieces have been changing in the background.
Okay.
I believe it could roll around with just before the magazine comes out.
Right.
So there's a whole new website coming out for the NMRA?
Well, it's going to be changed drastically. The layout's going to be made a little easier to navigate, and a few other bits and pieces are going to be
Yeah, and I
placed
think
in
they're integrating the store and the rest of it to make it more seamless, right?
Yes, and at the moment they're trying to get all back issues of magazines together so they can be up online and ready to go. So that's the project at the moment. But poor old Speed, he has got quite a list of projects in front of him, and obviously they're all volunteers, so they can only do as much as they can do at that time and then move on to the next project.
Okay, so before we go on here, let's make it perfectly clear to anybody that's listening or anybody that can pass the message on. There are 3 people running for at-large worldwide director. Just how big of a man are you, Martin?
Oh. Big enough.
Well, see,
that question seems to stumble.
Or it could be: is he on the run from the lies at large?
Yeah, I know.
Is this a shady position?
I know.
Constabulary is involved.
It's a simple question: how big of a man are you? And he can't even seem to. I'm 5'9".
Well,
okay, go ahead.
Well, I don't know which dimension you want. Did you want the girth or did you want the height?
I want it all, man. I want it all, buddy.
We wanted the X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. So we got 3 guys running for at-large worldwide director: Martyn Jenkins, Steve McMullen, John Stevens. So let's make it perfectly clear at this point that if either of these other gentlemen, Steve McMullen or John Stevens, want to come on the podcast and talk about their running for the election, they're more than welcome to. Is that correct, Bruce?
Absolutely. We will, any of the other ones. The Atlantic guy wants to, they're not running against anybody. If they want to, say hello to the world in general, we can entertain them as well, I would think.
Yeah, except they're not running against anybody, so.
Yeah.
Okay, So, Martyn, I'm going to look at your statement here. So, okay, so how did you end up as the worldwide director at large? And,
Well,
before we go on, just how big of a man are you?
I'm 6'1", I suppose. And,
are you 6'1"?
I think it's 6'1", yeah. I'm
Wow.
taller than you.
he was a large man.
Yeah, and probably wider as well, especially after this being locked down and,
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Have you done any walking? You need to, everybody that's out there needs to be, oh, man, where do we get to the second paragraph is great. You got to get, you got to get out there and walk. Our buddy Andy Ambrose, I know he's walking because I was bugging him. You don't stay inside. You got to get out and just walk around the block.
I'm gonna start walking. I got a great big motivation for it.
What's that?
My family bought me a ride in a Lancaster for Christmas, so I need to lose weight. I need to pass the weight limit.
Yeah, that's a cool present. How much was that? Martyn, you just take a seat there. We're going to talk about it.
Okay, I'll
3,600 Canadian.
Wow! So your family loves you.
Apparently, I was speechless for about 3 or 4 minutes. I couldn't believe it when I saw this. It was
that's cool.
Yeah.
You need to get yourself or borrow a GoPro camera off someone and get one of those chest mount harnesses and just turn it on before you get in there and just record the whole thing.
That's what I'm thinking.
You know what you do need? You know what you need besides the camera? You know what I'm thinking? You know what I'm thinking, don't you, Martyn?
Fred the Sock?
No, a parachute.
Oh, parachute.
Yeah, well, that an AML sticker.
Yeah. You're going on a plane that's almost 100 years old. Trust me, buddy, you need a parachute.
Yep.
I don't care how well it's been maintained. You need a parachute. All right, let's get down to some serious business here. So, my name is Martyn Jenkins, and you reside in the sunny Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. So, how did you become the at-large worldwide director?
Okay, well, at the last elections, as you recall, Gordy Robinson became the at-large worldwide director. And then during last year's elections, or 2021's elections, he was elected to the presidency. So as part of that, he had to appoint someone to replace him in his term as at-large worldwide director. So things we've worked together on NMRA X and getting that off the ground and up and racing. He approached me, so I decided, yep, okay, I'll step up to the mark, and we'll go from there. Okay,
that's cool. So now you want to get elected and continue on the good work.
Well, it's given me a taste of what the NMRA board's about. I mean, it was a steep learning curve from the beginning. Not only the going to a board of directors, but the fact that it's US based and US based on US, law and fiduciary requirements and the like. So it's been a bit of a learning curve. But now I've been there for a few months, I feel I could add weight and I could do a 3-year term. So I decided to throw my cap into the ring as the incumbent and give it a go.
What exactly does the worldwide director do?
Basically, the at-large directors are at the call of the president and vice president for special projects or other such tasks as can be deemed by the other board members. So basically, it's a bit of a fill-in role when they need to get something done or the likes. It could be appointed. That's I worked with Gordy regarding the rollout now of the electronic magazine, and that, as Gordy told you, was fought with a few battles, mainly with the regions outside North America and Britain. So mainly with the Australian region, because the Australian region is so different to the NMRA in Canada or North America or Britain. And so we had to work through that, which we did. We come up with an option that they're happy with, And onwards we go. The magazine is coming out. It's going through the planning phase now of being implemented, and it'll be out there as an electronic publication.
And what month, do we know what month is going to be the first actual electronic publication?
I believe it was the first. It's meant to be going out in the beginning of April. So
coming
we
up.
could be looking at the April edition as being on the electronic magazine.
Do you think that any of the fact that that's Bruce and
Take two.
Yeah. Do you think the
sound the words out carefully?
Yeah. Do you think the fact that both Bruce and I were born in the month of April had any impact on the fact that the first time they roll out the online magazine is going to be in the month of April?
Well, who else has a birthday in April?
I'm sure lots of people do, but
probably a couple people.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
Yeah, the 3rd of April.
The 3rd. Well, there we go.
All right. April's a great month.
It is. It is.
And 16 is a great number.
13's not shabby either.
Dan Murray.
See, I was born on a Friday the 13th, so there you go.
Were you?
I was. And when I went to grade school, there was another guy in my class born on the same day.
I was born.
Two was born on Friday the 13th.
I was born on Good Friday.
Oh, there you go.
In the spring of 19 something or other, and
yes.
And do you know that few people know this, but that was actually the very first Good Friday.
Well, there you go.
And just add that on there.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So
my brother is on the 3rd of April as well. So my brother-in-law is we're birthday buddies.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Is he the same age?
No, he's 62. He's a little older.
My buddy Ed, that I played golf with, probably now going on 30 years. We had played golf together, probably 15, more than at least 15 or 20 years. Probably, let's say 15 years. We'd played golf together for 15 years. One day, on a beautiful summer day, we're walking down the first hole. We'd both hit good drives. We both hit good shots into the green. We're patting each other on the back. And I said something to the effect of, well, geez, considering it was just my birthday a couple of weeks ago, I guess I should be pretty proud of myself. And it's only been 2 weeks since April the 16th. I said something to the effect of that about it was my birthday, April the 16th. And he goes, yeah, and he starts laughing. And I said, what are you laughing at? He says, well, you know that's my birthday, and you're just saying that. And I went, no, I don't. I said, that's my birthday. He says, no, it's not. I said, yeah, it is. And we get to the next one, I pull out my license. I said, look, that's mine. Both of us were born on April the 16th, and we hadn't known it for decades.
Years.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So, okay. So what are your plans for the next term? If you get elected, do you have some plans? Do you have some goals or ideas in mind that you'd like to do?
Yes. If, my idea is, I was the director at raised the motion at the last meeting to go with the digital magazine, and also the motion to allow the Australians, if they wanted to opt out, which they did. But as Gordy mentioned the last time he was on, there's a few other things in the pipeline in the online environment that we want to initiate. And I think he brushed on the fact that we could have an NMRA app. And that is going to open up a whole mass of different types of online media and content that we can deliver to members. So my idea is through NMRAX and being on the board of directors is to push the online content and push the idea of this app and get that out there. If you look at these days, we don't buy newspapers and the likes anymore, but we'll go and look at an app from a media provider such as, the Wall Street Journal or whatever, and all the information will be on there, and it'll be so much easier for regions and other members to be able to add content to it as well. So, that's my main push, is to enhance the use of online technology within the NMRA, and to bring it as one group together a bit more than what it is as the worldwide director. And
So you mean bring the NMRA more together, or like?
Yes. I mean, having people in Australia talking to people in Canada and the US and Europe and UK. I mean, the UK guys have a once every 2 or 3 weeks have a online meet, which is a bit of a social chat. Gordy calls it his brew and natter. Right. And we've been opening that up to a number of the Australians here and trying to get them, and they're now talking with people in the US. I mean, there's one guy here who actually runs a manufacturing business who's talking to a guy in the UK about making track for him. So, there's all sorts of bits and pieces, and without this online meeting, that would never have happened. So it's to push the NMRA a bit more in that direction of making us all one big community instead of basically 5 regional communities, if you get what I mean.
Absolutely.
As in your time, and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask the question now. Have you seen evidence of what we're hearing is that people are getting more and more value out of their NMRA membership, in large part due to all the social media stuff, the Zoom calls, whatever you want to call them, going on, because now they can participate easier without having to drive somewhere, and
sure,
you're online with another 60 or 70 others of the same type. And I've heard this. The subdivisions are more active now than they've been for years.
Than they've ever been. Yeah, and that's true. And it's I know in the Australian region here, we have a virtually every night an open Wearby room where people can come and chat. And,
what room?
A Wearby room. So there's a software out there called Wearby.com.
Bruce, what is a Wearby? Yeah. What is a Wearby?
We call it Whereby, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah,
that's
okay.
Goofy.
It's like solder and solder. I know.
Yes, that's correct.
Wearby. You can't even talk.
So we have one of those rooms
every night.
Just about every night, there's someone on there, Australian time. So
really,
yeah. Tonight there's a whole bunch of Queenslanders get on there tonight and talk about modelling Queensland Railway, because Queensland Railway is 3'6", so they model it on 12 mil track. So,
so that's something I had talked about before. I'd said that to Gordy a couple of years ago. Like, they need to make. You're right. Like, they need to make a bigger push to make people aware of the fact. Because they could easily have, like in that, I wasn't convinced that most recent NMRA convention, which one, the one in Santa Clara, Bruce, we try to be as transparent here as possible, don't we?
We do.
Right. So the most latest NMRA national convention in Santa Clara, I personally thought was going to be a complete flop. However, it turned out to be, from what I understand, pretty much of a roaring success.
Yep.
So I was completely wrong. And one of the things I took away from that, talking to people that enjoyed this convention, was that there was different, what they call them, breakout rooms in Zoom, where people could go and discuss individual topics with others that were interested in that particular topic. So, I mean, has the NMRA do you, as the worldwide director, have you taken note of how successful that Santa Clara NMRA virtual convention was? And are you going to do you have any plans of trying to do something along those lines on a regular basis rather than doing it once a year, more like once a month?
Well, NMRAX is that kind of tool that we use to do online clinics and the likes. And I must say, 2 weeks before the Santa Clara, the NMRA National Online Convention, the Australian region had their convention, and we had breakout rooms in Whereby. So
what about
here we go. I'm translating it for you now. Whereby, is that right?
I thought it was Wearby.
Wearby is what I call it, but Whereby. Okay.
So you had breakout rooms. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what the software was. You had breakout rooms.
So we had breakout rooms in there, but it does matter what the software is, because the difference between our breakout rooms, now we run them at every NMRAX event. So you can watch the stream on one monitor if you've got it, and you can actually be in a breakout room and talk amongst your friends about the clinic that you're actually watching. Now, when they ran the Santa Clara one, if you were in the breakout room, you were in the breakout room. If you were watching the clinic, you were watching the clinic. You couldn't have both going at the same time. So with our one, you can. So what we've found is when we run the breakout rooms, we'll have a bunch of guys in there that could be from 3 different parts of the world, all watching the live stream of the clinic and talking about the clinic amongst themselves as if they were in the same room. And that was a big difference that we've kind of taken forward with NMRAX from what they did with the breakout rooms in Santa Clara with the online one. So we've kind of taken that and then, yes, enhanced it a bit more. So every NMRAX event that happens now, there's a breakout. You can go to another whereby room, and there's individual rooms there for each of the clinic presenters. So like the last one we did, Kevin Marks was on there. So he went after he finished his clinic. He went over there, and there was a dozen people jumped in to ask him questions about fire extinguishers and safety equipment.
So after the clinic, he went into this breakout room where people could ask him direct questions.
Exactly, yeah. So every clinic we do now, at the end of the clinic, the clinician goes over to his Wearby room, his breakout room on Wearby, and you can navigate over there and you can click that, and you can still be watching the next clinic that come up. So you can have both of them running at the same time.
Bruce, I know I say this 1,000 times and I beat it to death, but holy mackerel. Can you imagine what it would have been like to be a model railroader for us when we were in our 20s? If this...
No, you look at what we had, though. We had maybe 1 or 2 regional conventions a year and maybe a division meet every 3 or 4 months. We were lucky.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
And people don't have people seem to have an easier time of mingling via the internet somehow. I find that people have a much easier time mingling this way and, kind of getting to know each other, whereas as opposed to the older way, the standard way of up to just recently of you go to a convention and you have to kind of not be a wallflower if you want to get involved. And I find that in the new world, it's easier for people to speak up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a really tough question, and don't give me a standard answer. Otherwise, I'll start yelling at you. I'm gonna. This is the thing. This is why I was put on this planet, was to yell at the NMRA people. So, what do you guys when you're talking amongst yourselves? Let's address the age-old problem that I think is slowly going away, and I'd like to speed up the process. What are you guys going to do about encouraging people that are of the next wave? I'm not going to say younger people. I'm going to say we got to come up with a synonym, Bruce, for for that group of people under the age of 40. I'm tired of saying younger people because yes, they are, but they're a different breed of cat because they've grown up. A lot of them have grown up. My son is 37. And I mean, he had a computer when he was, like 10. So there's a whole breed of everybody under the age of 40 is a whole different breed of cat that is used to having personal access to personal computers. So what do you guys, so how are you guys going to address that problem where that whole demographic that was a big word I just used there.
That was a good word, though.
Yeah.
It was good, yeah. I'm in shock.
How are you guys going to address that group of people going forward to encourage them to show them that the NMRA is worthwhile?
Well, I believe the NMRA's biggest asset is the camaraderie between fellow model railroaders. And by having a greater online presence, like what I'd like to see in the future is basically a 24-hour NMRA chat room where anybody can just drop in there for a conversation. Like as you know, the AML has a chat room where every now and again someone drops in there, and the next minute somebody else comes in and says hello, and before you know it, you've got half a dozen people in there all having a conversation about any sort of subject. Usually, always model railroad related. But I'd like to see a system like that set up where basically you've got an avenue for anybody to drop in there, and that's where you're going to then attract the younger demographic. The platforms that they even use. I mean, we use YouTube and Facebook at the moment, but in the new year, I've been speaking with Brad Anderson here, who runs the NMRAX now at Gordy's president, and we've been talking about other platforms to go to, such as TikTok or what's the other ones? Instagram and all the rest, and all the rest of those, and opening it up to a bigger demographic. I mean, at the moment, when we look at our NMRAX figures, unsubscribed is our biggest audience. So, the biggest audience are people that watch us all the time out there unsubscribed to the YouTube page. So hence why we had a bit of a push by making a couple of promo videos to get people to, do what Ron Marsh says all the time. And you can insert that sound now.
Click on Ron Marsh.
Hi, I'm Ron of Ron's Trains and Things, and if you'd like to see more model railroad tips, tools, and techniques, then be sure and subscribe down below and click that little bell icon so you can catch future videos.
So, so my idea of aims for the next 3 years, if I'm elected, is to enhance that environment and get that, because that environment is for all the worldwide members. And I believe, being as worldwide director, that's what I should be looking at.
So how are we, because it'll be me just pestering you, how do you plan to show people that next wave of technology, the technology boom, the technology babies? How are you going to show them that belonging to the NMRA is of any value to them? What is it going to cost with the new way? It's going to be like $74 or something a year to get the magazine online, something like that. And how are you going to show that? And we don't want just the same old. Like, how are you going to convince people to spend that $74 and become part of the NMRA? Because my argument is, I still say you could have a 1995, and all you get for that is you get to access to the website, but it's the umbrella that we all live under. But it has gotten to this, a fairly large chunk of change. And, I was yelling at Gordy about what is all this money being used for. And so what is it that you can do as the worldwide director? How are you going to, I love the idea of the app. I mean, that seems very hip. I mean, you got to figure out a way to say, well, behind the NMRA, once you come into the NMRA and you're like Lionel and you finally figure out how to access the member side of the thing, here's what there is in there.
Well, at the moment, there's a plethora of information in the members area of the website, and obviously with the push to the app, the website would be redeveloped so it's mobile friendly. And we can get all that information on there. Now, there's a heap of clinic videos and the likes that are on the members area. But basically, I feel it's the avenues to introduce people to the NMRA. I think once they're introduced, there's enough there with the existing setup of the magazine, the information, the camaraderie, the standards, the conventions and other things to bring those people in. It's just that the avenue that you bring them in by is got to be an online avenue, and without a smattering of an online presence, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle. And that's how I think you're going to get the younger people in here today. I mean, I see it when our club has got quite a few young members when you consider a club. I mean, our average age is in the 30s for our club members, and we got about 25. So they have been enticed and brought in by seeing technology we use on the railways, whether it's Arduinos, whether it's remote control cars, whether it's been using Y-throttles, wireless, while mobile phones as throttles, or using Raspberry Pis to run the layout. It's been that technology window that's attracted a lot of young people to our club, and then of course they've then seen what the NMRA does and gone on from there.
Yeah, with some of the things like the more and more cost-effective 3D printers and laser cutters and that stuff. So are they attracted to that as well as all the other stuff? Do you feel?
Yes, I mean we've actually got quite a couple of guys that are looking at joining the club, and they're actually from the Warhammer
Right.
side of things, and they 3D print all their figures and their bits and pieces, but they're interested in the scenery and creating realistic scenery and looking at things like videos from people like Jeff Knott or some of the stuff that's on the NMRA members site. They've been gobsmacked by what can be achieved as well. So it works both ways.
Do you have access to some of these younger people that we can get feedback and perhaps get them involved in helping develop this?
Well, yeah, I mean, one guy that come out of the woodwork, he actually come from the Santa Clara convention, and it's Jacob Wright, who's actually up there in Canada with you guys. And I believe Jacob is 15 or 16. He'll kill me if I get the age wrong, but he's the youth coming in today. Now we've had him doing a couple of NMRA hosting jobs where he's
I've seen him. Yes,
where he's done the hosting. Now he is right into model railways. I've got another guy here locally. It's actually with us who's he's about 17, and I tell you what, if you need to know anything about Great Western Railways in the UK, he could tell you the time of day that Isambard Kingdom scratched his head and what side it was and the likes and again, because this wonderful hobby has got so many different facets. There's so many different ways we can bring people into the fold, as it were. I mean, we've got one guy in our club who is just he's a history buff, and he loves the hardware that Germany used during World War II. So he collects all Deutsche Bahn World War II trains, and some of the modelling he does is fantastic, with the train loads of tanks and the likes. But again, the history that he's developed, he'll come and run a train and he'll tell you it was, this was heading off here, going, delivering equipment that's going to the Africa Corps, and that's why it's all in sand colour, it's such a wonderful hobby in the different facets and channels that people can join it.
Looking at some of the technology there now, I'm thinking, again, let's look at laser printer and laser cutting 3D printing. Is it feasible? Well, it's possible, I'm sure, that the NMRA could develop, in conjunction with help from its members, a repository of files that people could, log in and download if they say they needed a conductor holding his lantern or something like that. Somebody's got that file there and they could grab that and print it at home themselves. Is that something that the NMRA can do? And I think they probably should be looking at that. It's
not high on the priority list, but that sort of thing has been discussed as making, especially for people who have maybe done a drawing of, say, a car underframe or something for their AP, that it may end up in there as something other members could use as well, or that they're things to be discussed in the future. And I think the move to the app would be great with that, because you could access that file anywhere. If you were at a friend's place, they had a 3D printer, and you go, oh, gee, yeah, there was a electrical signal box that I wanted to get printed out, and I can get it. I can download it on the app on my phone, give it to my mate here, and now he can print it for me.
Right. Yeah, so basically we've kind of pried the manhole off, and it's open a couple 3 inches, and now we're ready to get the big crowbar in there and wing her wide open.
Exactly. I mean, this is all the beginning. We don't know what technology is around the corner. I mean, we're looking at different things to do NMRAX with next year, which could add a bit more entertainment into it as well. It's things are developing.
I'm trying to find, where would I find the I'm going to ask you some tougher questions now. Where would I find the financial? Where on the website is the tough questions? Where's the financial statements? Last when I was yelling at Gordy, I managed to find those.
Oh, they're somewhere there.
Where somewhere.
We've looked at them.
Are you going to try to get the NMRA to, like, every time they open the wallet, the moss fly out? They have this, a ton of money stored away. Like, are we going to start spending some of that money to try to get this train rolling, or what?
Well, yeah, you're not going to bring in new technology without having some expenditure. So the idea would be to reduce expenditure in other areas and employ those funds to bring in newer technology, such as if we decided to go along the course of developing an app, it wouldn't suddenly be an app and it's turned on and everything there is all 100% functional. It would have to be a program over a number of years to bring in different facets of an online presence with the app. Like we'd like it to have a section that's available to all the divisions when they run their conventions, so that they could have active timetables going and even GPS location telling you which room you're actually in at the convention venue, or communicating with friends at the convention venue. There are other facets of the app that we'd like to eventually put in, but they're not all going to be in there on day one. And it would have to be a timetable of how these things are going to develop, depending on what resources we've got.
Yeah, like I see here, I found it. Like I see here, like the total assets are almost $6 million. And I'm thinking, why do we have $6 million in assets? Like, we don't own anything anymore. They don't own the building anymore. Like, it's like, somehow you've got a lot of work to kind of turn the ship around and kind of make it less clandestine and a secret and more, open and and welcoming or something like that.
That's what we're intending to do. And like as Gordy has said, we've only been in these positions now for a couple of months, baby. I mean, not even a full year yet. So it's things are changing, but they're not going to change instantaneously.
Right. Exactly. That's an excellent point.
And that's the thing with me standing for election is I want to see them, the path that we've kind of pushed them in now. We want to keep them going in that path, and that's my main drive.
Okay, so let's address another problem that for some people that might be on the fence about voting for you. Some people, I'm sure, are thinking to themselves, "Well, he's only going to be interested in what's best for Australia." So how do you convince people that as the worldwide director, you're not interested in just things for Australia?
Well, first of all, I mean, my background, I've lived in a number of different countries around the world. I originally came from the UK. I'm married to an American here, so I listen to the Australians with as much intent as I listen to the Canadians, the British, and the American directors. My position, yes, I live in Australia, and yes, I have a good idea of how the Australian region works, and that was my push in the magazine, was the fact that it didn't really entice any of the Australians. It wasn't going to be something that was going to be positive here. So we decided to give them the opt-out clause so that they can stay exactly as they are. And the reasoning is, the Australian region is a lot different. But then again, I've had to look at what the British region is like. I attend the Bruin Natters all the time and some of the meetings that the British NMRA region has. And I've got a good feedback and a good understanding of their demographics and their membership. Same with the Canadians through you guys and my meetings with the Canadian fellas. I've got a good understanding of what they want as well, and I can understand that there is a vast difference between all the different regions, and so the plans or the systems that we've got to implement have got to be positive for a majority of the regions. We're not going to please everybody all the time, every time, but they've got to be widespread across the board. So, yeah, I am here in Australia. I'm based in Australia, but with this online environment and the fact that we can talk and communicate face to face with people, I can get a pretty good understanding about what the whole organisation wants.
Okay, I'll throw a question in now, because one of the big things we used to hear all the time, they used to have the board meetings in February, and then one of the convention, obviously, and there was concerns about everybody getting in their vacation down there, yada yada yada. With the new technology, I think, and tell me if you're wrong, that you can have more frequent meetings and keep up to date that way, rather than meeting just twice a year type thing. Is that not correct?
Exactly. I mean, the board now, instead of meeting twice a year at the convention and in the winter meeting, they now meet every month online, and we also have online work sessions. So they'll be probably in between each of the monthly meetings. So there's probably every 2 or 3 weeks the NMRA board are talking with each other, which I think is really good. And there's been a lot of fruitful conversations and discussions and debates being put forward through those meetings. It'll never replace a face-to-face meeting or a face-to-face meeting over a couple of days, but it is probably 99% there with the outcomes that we can get. And I don't know what the plans are in the future, but I would say we'd probably be reducing the face-to-face meetings and increasing or staying with the online meetings.
So conceivably, you'll have your one big face-to-face at the convention time, and then the rest will be online, and
yes,
you're meeting 11 other times a year instead of just one other time a year.
Exactly, and of course, in the times that we live in at the moment, who knows when we'll actually be able to facilitate a face-to-face meeting. I mean,
right.
Yes, in the States at the moment, things are being loosened up, but in the UK and in Australia, things are going the other direction, should we say?
Yes.
All right.
So
I'm going to ask you a brutally tough question now.
Oh, look, Eddie's found the tough question section.
Yeah, I found the tough question section.
It's right there. Click here for tough questions.
The tough question section. This is a brutally tough question, and I don't expect you to have an answer right off the tip of your. It's something I kind of touched on with Gordy, and I don't expect you to have an answer at the tip of your fingers, because this is a brutally tough question concerning the NMRA, and something that just slowly is driving me batty. But that's okay. I'm all right with that. For some strange and peculiar reason, many, many years ago, it's got to be going back like 3 decades ago, there started, and I'm sure, Bruce, you have some knowledge of this because you do.
Okay.
A group of people started NMRA Canada. And now there is a separate NMRA Canada. And for me to be a member of the NMRA and to get full access to the NMRA website and to get the online magazine and the whole 9 yards, I can do it for $30 a year, which is like half the price it costs Americans to belong to the NMRA. And I don't, which is what my thing is, like, well, if you're going to have an online magazine, you can lower the price. I don't understand why when I belong to NMRA Canada, it only costs me $30 a year to have it without the paper magazine. I know that's a brutally tough question, and I don't expect you to have the answer, but that's something you need to investigate. Like,
it is, and I've made a note here, and I'll have a word with Frank about that.
And what is membership dues in Australia?
There's $30 Australian.
Yeah, so it's the same thing.
And what's British region? They're about £30 or 24
£30,
pounds.
yeah,
£30.
Yeah.
So it's like $60. It's roughly the same in US dollars.
You got to remember though, the British region, the Australian region are basically franchises of NMRA America. And this was one of the problems that we had here with the rollout of the electronic magazine and the changes to the funds. In the States, most of the people get the magazine, and they're going to get their membership cheaper, and they're going to get an online magazine, which is great.
Absolutely.
But in Australia, it meant that their membership was going to go up to $55 a year, so it was going to go up $20 a year, and they were going to get a magazine that probably, I would say, 2/3 to maybe 3/4 of the membership here wouldn't want, because they're not American modelers. Australia's layout is very different to a lot of the other regions, and they have a lot of 100% clubs, and they have a lot of non-American modelers, which is good because it opens us up to all sorts of different bits and pieces that you see, European, British stuff, as well as American. But to sell that to them, to say you're going to get a magazine, 90% of them came back and said, no, we're not interested in that. So that's why another motion was put forward for those regions. They have an opt-out clause that if they don't want to have the magazine, they can opt out of it. And the people that are already ordering their magazine for print, which is only 75 out of nearly 800 members, which is, so you can see is a very small potato. Yeah.
But that's truly an Australian problem. It's not and you're the
exactly.
You're the worldwide guy. You're not the Australian guy.
No, but I've also got to look at the different areas, and you can see in the British region, yes, they've got a workaround solution, and they're all American modelers, so they all see interest in the magazine. Canada's the same. The US, of course, would be very interested in the magazine, but it's just the fact that the way the Australian franchise is set up, it's not. I'd probably even got to say North American modelling is probably only 1/3 of what the membership here do, and 2/3 are probably either Australian or European or British modelers.
Right. Well, that's.
But then I think you've done a good thing there. You've recognized that there's part of the NMRA membership who would not benefit this, and given them a way to, stay the status quo. All right, if you don't want to buy in, you don't buy in. You stay the way you are, and everybody's happy. Which in the past may have not been the case.
Well, in the past, they may have railroaded this through, as to use a term, and forced the Australians into it. Well, I know here, if that had actually happened, we would have probably lost 2/3 to maybe 3/4 of the membership. But especially these days where people communicate worldwide on the internet, that bad news could transfer and could be a bad taste in the mouth of the NMRA going forward, with a bunch of Australians online whinging about how expensive it was made and they didn't want this, and
So it says here for American membership, just a regular NMRA membership, it's $50 without the magazine. Is that correct? That's what it says on the NMRA website.
Yes, that's what yes.
And then it's going to go up now to, what is it? Going to be 62 or 74 or something?
64, I think.
64. And
that's going up 14.
Right. And that's going to give everybody access to an online magazine.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really an unreasonable price.
Oh.
I mean, do you think so, Bruce?
No, I to me, that's not an outrageous amount. Like I'm on all sorts of weird stuff, UK based, and I'm a member of the Gage Hole Guild, and the access I have to them is through their magazine and online stuff, and it's up in that range, and it's not an outrageous amount of money when you think of you're getting the magazine, plus you're getting, like Martyn's pointed out, on the member side of the website, there's tons of clinics and things you can watch. There's other member only things in there, and so you're getting that plus you look at it for what is it going to cost you? It's like 10 cents a day or less than that, or whatever it works out to.
Exactly, and if
maybe
you look
20
at
cents a day.
It's a lot more than that. Because for just 365 easy payments of 16 cents a day, Well, I guess that's about right, isn't it? Yeah, I'll edit that part out.
But in the States, you've got most of the members there take the magazine. So, therefore, the majority, it's actually going to be a decrease.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see that.
So, and that's the thing that, I believe needs to be looked at is the worldwide picture. It's all roses in one area, but in other areas it can be, it could be poison to them. So we need to adapt. If we are a truly worldwide organisation, we need to adapt to the local regions' abilities and whims, basically.
Well, and there's no doubt that you and Gordy and all the people are trying to turn this ship around, and it is hard to turn a giant ship around that's been sailing in one direction for years and years and years. So, I mean, you've just got to try to be, eyes wide open with the way the world is going and try to figure out a way. I mean, I think the hardest block or stumbling block I see is the thing you can sell is community.
Exactly.
And so you got to figure out how to explain to people for $62 a year, you're going to get community. And because right now they don't need the NMRA, they can get community in model railroading, 36 different ways. So that's where you're really going to have to try to
That's the challenge.
It really is. And when you guys are in your 6 months of being sitting on the NMRA board, is that a common theme? Do you feel like the board is aware of this problem, or?
Yes. I mean, one of the board members has we just put together a committee to look at member retention, and there's a couple of things that have just been passed in the last meeting. For recognition of members. Like we kind of recognize members when they get to milestones such as 10 years or 15 or 25 years or the likes. But there's nothing for the 1 or 2 year membership. And I think that has been brought up as being important by the board, is looking at whether it's either just a certificate or something, some form of recognition that we're thanking them, for their membership, and trying to foster that community that, they haven't joined an officious organisation. They've joined a group of friends, basically.
Right. As far as the membership goes, are they still looking at the what they call a rail pass or whatever it is for $19 a year? Is that still going to be an option, or is that's
still going to be an option? I believe. Okay. I haven't heard any comments for that.
But will that now include the digital magazine or not?
I believe it will. It would include the digital magazine as well.
Yeah, you got to
so maybe a little bit more, but you got the magazine in there for half a year to see what it's like.
And it says here the rail pass trial membership is 9 months. I think a rail pass should be a year. Just make it a year. And you get your first year for $19.95, and then you're off to the races. And it's in that first year that you've got to show people why it's worthwhile to belong to the NMRA.
Yeah, you've got them in the door, now you got to keep them in.
Exactly, and we've already got a group of guys that are looking on different items like that. That recognition is one part of it, but other items on membership retention
Is there ever any discussions? I mean, I've talked about this this hobby is so, you guys, when I went to find my membership card, you'd think I wasn't listening, but I was. You were talking about those little HO scale RC cars.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. do you have any proof?
No,
Yeah.
So what was my question going to be? Hang on. Oh, yeah. So, I was noticing, then you said, well, the guy's gone off to do drones now. And I think that's a common theme with a lot of other hobbies. I think, you get into RC cars, and that seems like a great hobby, but people kind of lose interest in that. Then they do drones, and you kind of lose interest in that because those hobbies are kind of one-dimensional. Like an RC car, it's fun to have an RC car and go screaming around the lawn and up and down the driveway. But after you've screamed up and down the driveway a dozen times, you're kind of going, well, I've done that. And it's the same as, like I wouldn't, Costco has this cool little drone for like $600, and I'm thinking, I wouldn't mind trying that. But you know darn well that you'd use it, a half a dozen times, and you'd kind of go, well, I did that. So do you guys have any kind of do you guys have some, like, it would be interesting for you guys to delve deeper into what it is about this hobby that makes people, like, once you get in, people stay in this hobby. This isn't a...
And I'm John, I'm thinking here, one of the great assets that maybe doesn't get advertised enough is the number of special interest groups that are in the NMRA. You got the layout design group, you got the operations special interest group, you got the guys who are interested in reefer operations. There's a whole pile of special interest groups out there that I think the NMRA has been remiss in pushing those more as something that's available, because there's a lot of great information out there when you start looking around at some of these groups.
Exactly. I mean, we joked before about going down rabbit holes with this hobby, but I find this hobby is full of rabbit holes. There's weathering. I mean, you look at the stuff that Ralph does and the way that he does it and bits and pieces, and that's a whole other genre. Then you look
Who's Ralph? Who's Ralph?
Ralph Renzetti, the mud father himself.
Oh, okay. There's a guy named Ralph Renzetti. Okay.
Yeah, there's a guy named Ralph Renzetti. I believe you may have spoken to him.
I've spoken to Ralph. Hey, Ralph, how you doing, buddy? Ralph is always mad at me.
Ralph's always mad at everyone, I reckon.
Okay, well now I feel better then.
I don't think you've got the market on that. I don't think you've got the...
Okay.
But the whole hobby. I mean, you get into electronics. I mean, you've got people like Speed Muller, who's his MQT trains, and he's down a whole rabbit hole with remote ops and the likes. The remote control cars and vehicles, while they're not big in the States at the moment, there are a couple of manufacturers, I believe, that are actually looking in the next year to release a commercial 187 scale truck.
Which would be fun to have, but it'd be interesting if you put together a committee that tried to figure out what is the draw of this hobby. Because it would be fun to have an RC car, but I can see if my layout was finished and I had an RC car, sure, I'd drive it around the layout a few times on the roads that are there, but I'd get tired of that for some strange and peculiar reason, and I have yet to find out what it is. And I mean, we've talked to enough people. I mean, you talk about rabbit holes. I mean, Bruce, if we've learned anything doing this podcast, it's like just when you think you're getting close to talking to everybody, there's another 10,000 people that show up.
Oh, exactly. Or you find out the guy you're talking to is into something totally different. You go, whoa, back the bus up there, Smarty. What's this all about? Well, yeah, I do that too. That'd be That'd be an interesting maybe subcommittee to do, is try to understand what the draw of the hobby is, and maybe if they understood the draw of the hobby, maybe it would help them understand how to draw people into the NMRA. Because I think, and I've thought this for years, the draw of the hobby is you can do pretty much anything. You can be a planner, you can be a builder, you can be you can do carpentry, you can do electronics, you can do scenery, you're an artist, you can replicate a transportation system, operations, there are so many different things you can do that make our hobby, it's a living hobby versus like no offense to the great modelers who are out there who build military models or other models, but they're static models. They're beautiful models, then they sit on the shelf. We have models and we can do stuff with them.
Yeah.
Well, the only other guys who do that are the model boat guys. You can go out and operate their boats, and the airplane guys, some of the RC plane guys. So it's a hobby that allows you to do so much. And again, I'll get back to the NMRA has so much information that we're not getting out to people that we have.
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, the other thing is, again, with this, it's another rabbit hole to go down to is the online environment, the things that you're doing, Lionel, and with the podcast and the likes. I mean, that's another facet of the hobby that some people can get drawn into. I think there's a couple of other podcasters out there that got into the hobby from watching podcasts like this, or listening to podcasts like this. So
we had I'm trying to find the email, and I can't find it right now. But we had a fellow last time in our last probably it was a couple of email shows ago, where he lived in Wyoming, and he said once he found the podcast, he'd done more on his layout in the last 10 months than he had in the last 10 years, because he felt like he had people to do it with as he was listening to the podcast, which I thought was just spectacular. I just love that. And I think,
and you look at a guy like Roger Goldman. There's a guy who found the podcast, and look at what he's been doing on his layout and the stuff he's doing now, shooting prototype photos and things.
Exactly.
And he's a regular on the Wednesday night chat.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I guess we better start. Have you got any final words? Because I got one other piece of business I got to discuss with you that you're not going to be happy with.
Well, get to that piece of business then. Come on, I've got to get organised with these meetings now. That's the other thing about them is they're 3:00 in the afternoon Eastern time. So that's about 4 a.m. the following day here. So usually when I'm getting up for a bod meeting, it's about 3:30 or 3:00 in the morning to come out to the shed in the darkness with my cup of coffee and fire up the studio here and log in.
Well, that's dedication.
It is.
That's dedication. Bruce, can you give out our email address?
Didn't you have a question for him?
Could you please give out our email address?
Okay. Our email address, please send us an email. Let us know what you think. We always like to know what you think, good, bad, or indifferent. Modeler's Life, modelers with one L, modeler'slife@gmail.com.
Right. And you listen to quite a few of the podcasts, don't you? Quite a few of the Modeler's Life podcasts, don't you, Martyn?
Who, me?
No, Martyn?
Oh, Martyn.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably, would you say you've listened to like 70% of them?
Oh, I would say I've probably listened to about 150% of them.
Okay, that's good.
I've gone back and listened to a few of them. So
yeah, and so your statement here that can be found in the on the members' side, we could are we allowed to publish this your platform somewhere else, or are we not allowed to do that?
No, you can publish that anywhere. Well, it should be available to anybody. So any of the members, and if they're not a member, they won't get to it.
Oh yeah, right, because only members can vote.
Yeah.
Duh. We should do a podcast. We should make sure that all the members can access the member side of the NMRA website. So anyways, okay, you feel like in paragraph 4, you say involvement with the NMRA began in 1999. The first meeting I attended, I was hooked on the friendship, knowledge, and willingness to share displayed by the members. Since then, I've gone on to serve several positions within my region: division superintendent, AR social media manager for the past 8 years, coordinator of the 2018 and 2014. So it's really well written. Now, in the second paragraph, you say, some of you may have heard me from social media platforms such as A Modeler's Life. Modelers is spelled Modelers with an Modelers with 2 L's. Have you ever listened to the podcast?
I have listened to the podcast, and yes, but unfortunately, my spell checker is set to English.
and
it's the same as I had this argument with Kevin at the last NMRAX clinic that there is an L in the word solder, and and it can be. I don't know what the North Americans have done, or what that L has done to the North Americans to upset them so much that they totally ignore it in the word. But anyway. That's just one of my bugbears.
Yeah, it's a modelers. That's why we say it's modelers with 1 L, like railroad, not 2 L's like Lionel. Because in the colonies, in the Commonwealth, in British English, it is 2 L's, but we don't spell it that way. So is this some sort of a statement that you're trying to make, that regardless of the way that it's spelled, you're just doing it any old way you want? Like, is this a representation of the way you'll represent the NMRA? Is like the members want something, but you're just going to do it any old way you want, or what is that exactly?
Well, as worldwide director, I figured there is the Australian region and the British region, and they'd spell it that way, so I would follow suit.
That's pretty weak. Next time, after you hit spell check, then read the whole thing, will you? For crying, you should have given this to your wife to read.
Well, she'd change it, and I'd end up with.
Yeah, you didn't end up being spelled properly. The only problem with you being worldwide director, which I think you do a spectacular, you will continue to do a spectacular job, is you'll just be a continuous pain in my butt.
Which is what we want.
Which is what I intend to do. I mean, that's what I've been,
When after I'm finished yelling at Gordy, then I'll always go, I got to get John Doring on here and yell at him for a while.
Yes, we got.
You can yell at all three of us
at the same time.
There we go.
Yeah,
that would be a good idea. That'd be a fun show, probably. Lots of questions, because I want the NMRA to be much more accessible to everybody.
Yeah,
we all do.
Yeah, and I'll just run. I think of what we've seen Gordy and his group do since they came into power in July or August, one of the two. What they've managed to crank out in less than half a year is truly outstanding, and it shows the dedication and the initiative that this bunch of people have to make the NMRA a better NMRA than it was.
Yes. And let's be clear that anybody else that's running for some sort of elected office in the NMRA in the upcoming elections is more than welcome to reach out to us, and we'll get you on the podcast if you so choose. Give everybody free airtime. It's not just about Gordy. However, we're recommending to the AML Nation that you take the time when you get your election forms that you put an X beside Martyn Jenkins. That's Martin Jenkins, Jenkins.
Martyn.
Why? Well, because I'm trying to tell people how to spell.
Yeah, I knew he was going to go down that path. Oh, that was a Lincoln Homer, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Man, that one, you walked right into the door jam on that one. That was a low door.
Oh, I did.
You walked right into that one. Okay.
It's like walking into the Glasgow subway car and getting right in the middle of the forehead.
Yeah, boom. Or, what's worse? The one that I do is walking around behind my car and jamming
the bunker hitch.
No, yeah, the trailer hitch.
Yeah.
And jamming your calf right onto the trailer hitch. Oh man.
Yes.
I've gone down a couple of times when I've done that.
Oh yeah, that's dreadfully ouchie.
Oh my goodness gracious! Because there's not a whole lot of flesh to protect you.
Not a lot of flesh on your shin when you whack that sucker.
I did that once, and man, I went down like a stone. I just was like, it was that. The only good thing was it was on right beside my lawn. It was in the summer, and I came around the back of the truck, and boom, right into the trailer hitch. And I was able to just stumble one and a half steps so that I could fall onto the lawn. And I'm just laying there like, oh my God, the pain was like, and
yep,
it was a real ouchie.
I bet.
Look, I guess we turned
Gosh darn gee willikers.
I guess we turned this into a show. So let's remind everybody how to vote. So sometime in the month of March.
Yep.
We'll put this show out on a Monday on the free channel in February. We've recorded this at the beginning of the new year, 2022, and we'll put this out in the February sometime, just before the elections are going to start.
Yes. Yep.
And
okay, let me just ask, Martin, is it going to be electronic balloting, mail-in balloting, combination of both again?
I believe it's going to be
the last one. It was electronic, and then if you didn't get one, they would mail you one.
That's correct. I believe it's still the same. You'll be electronic, and if you don't get one, they'll mail one out to you. And I believe in the regions, in British region, Australian region, it'll be mailed out.
And your number one goal is, if you're elected, is number one thing you want to work on is developing an app, an NMRA app for your smartphone.
Exactly, getting the app up and running and getting more online presence.
Sounds like, I think an NMRA app would be cool. I would really enjoy that. I would really, really enjoy that. I keep thinking we need an app for Modeler's Life, but I just don't know what we'd put on it. And we can hardly keep up. Although I've been by the time we hear this, I've mailed out a bunch of shirts. So I'm very excited about that.
Way to go!
Yeah, I was working on that today.
Cool.
Yeah, I've actually come up with a system now. Through the frustration of dealing with the pandemic and export papers, I've actually come up with a system. Because the problem is at the end of August, I do this goofy walk where I walk 100 kilometers, aka 60 miles, from a hospital to my home to raise money for Princess Margaret Hospital, and I supply a T-shirt to anybody that donates over $100 or over $200, which is I'm always very touched by that. And so far we've raised like $100,000. But then
it's amazing.
It is amazing, and it's truly amazing how helpful people are. And
I must tip my hat to you for that. That is really sensational. The amount of money that you've raised for the hospital and the great work that they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I said? This year when I got about a half a mile from the hospital, on my way starting to walk this year, you know what I said?
What am I doing here?
What the hell am I doing? Which, oddly enough, for the last 5 years, I've said the same thing every year. Only
at the same intersection?
Yeah, pretty much. What am I doing? Well, I got another 99 and a half miles to go, or kilometers to go. Anyways, I have all those T-shirts to mail out, and I thought, oh man, I got to figure something out. And out of that, born between COVID, export papers, and the walk, I came up with a brilliant system, and by now many T-shirts have been sent out to all our Patreon members, which is very cool. And
you took them off to the prairies and fired them across the border?
Yeah, I just loaded them. No, I went down to Maple Leaf Gardens, and I know, but I'm calling it Maple Leaf Gardens. And I got the cannon where they shoot the T-shirts out of.
Oh, the T-shirt cannon, yes.
Yeah, T-shirt cannon. I just went over down to Fort Erie, across the river from Buffalo, and just fired them over to Buffalo. And
beautiful.
All right, what else do we got to talk? Oh yeah, we have a website, amodeler'slife.com. If you go there, boom, you didn't catch the email address, and you have a question for the young Mr. Jenkins. So you're going to be the worldwide director at large.
The at-large worldwide director.
At large. How big of a man are you?
Fairly big.
Big enough.
Is there actually size restrictions for this? Like you have to be a certain size to do this job?
No. There's no size limitations on the job. There's no little sign saying you must be at least this height before you can ride the ride.
Okay. So the fact that you need 2 chairs at the table doesn't bother anybody?
2 chairs? No, I just have one. I just have a couch.
Person of size.
Tracy.
I know.
Friend Tracy.
Tracy would be giving me an extension for the
for the seatbelt. Okay, so we have a website, amodeler'slife.com. If you go there, you didn't catch the email address. You just go into the website. You click onto a picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state, and boom, all the hard work part is done. All you do is fill in your text and send us an email. And we love email, don't we, Bruce?
We absolutely love emails. We get some good ones.
We get a lot of good ones. And also, if you would like a T-shirt or a hat, if you go to Midwest Model Railroad, which is the official distributor of all AML merchandise, and you go onto their website, which is midwestmodelrr.com, and scroll across to the right-hand side of their navigation bar and click on AML. Boom. You are in a wonderland of AML merchandise. Hats, hoodies, mugs, T-shirts, whatever you could possibly need. And one last thing, if you're listening to this, you're on the free channel. Every Monday, we put out a free episode of A Modeler's Life. But if you like this, and you'd like twice as much fun, if you just for 16 cents, 365 simple payments of 16 cents a day, you can have you can have a podcast every Tuesday as well. Because that's, and our buddy Kaylee Zhang refers to that as the Antics channel. I think that would be a fair statement.
Yep, I think it's a very fair statement. Yes.
Aptly named.
Aptly named. We have a lot of fun over there. And Bruce, your favorite thing is the Wednesday chats.
Wednesday chats are a lot of fun. It's I often forget because I get involved doing something else, but then I get on there. There's usually maybe anywhere 15 to 30 people on at any given time. We get some of our listeners in the UK will be on early in the afternoon, and they'll go off for dinner in bed, and then the North American crowd takes over, and there's usually a lot of good conversation going on.
And that is for our Patreon members. You have to be a Patreon member to be, but it's all our because our Patreon members are dyed-in-the-wool fans. I think that's the way we'd say it. So if you're a Patreon member and you want to get on a great,
you're hardcore.
Yeah, you're hardcore. You want to get in on a great virtual chat? Boom, just go right there to. We send out that on a week. By now, Bruce. This long since has come. We came up with a great way to make sure everybody was notified of the how.
It was a brilliant idea you had.
And how to access every week. We put out a little podcast, a little 5-minute podcast for that month, and you can memorize the whole podcast because it's the same one every Wednesday morning for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 minutes about what the password and ID for the meeting is.
Yes.
So, like, if you really enjoy that podcast on the first Wednesday of the month, by the 4th Wednesday of the month, you can have it all memorized because it's the same podcast. You're not following me, are you?
It's a brilliant idea. He explained it to us. So why don't we think of that before?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Are you ready? Any last words there, Martyn, before we go?
No, I think we've covered a lot of bits and pieces.
We have. What are you going to go do now? Are you going to go? I apologize.
Well,
I apologize for this because I don't like to stereotype people, but you're a good guy and you're lots of fun. Are you going to go throw another shrimp on the Barbie?
Well, funny you should say that. We do actually have some prawns here for dinner tonight, so I will be throwing some shrimp on the Barbie in a little while.
Beautiful.
And I'll get a wobbly pop as well. But it's what 10 to 3 in the afternoon here, so I think I might actually go and run some trains before I go and do that.
That's good. What's the temperature?
Well, look, it's always hot in Australia, isn't it? Today is round about. Today is actually a cool day. It's round about 95 degrees outside. But last week we had a week of over 104, 105 with 90% humidity. So if you sent me a photo of your front yard covered in snow last week, I would have liked to have lied in it in my underwear because it was stinking hot here.
That's an unnerving sight.
Yeah, it's something you can't unsee now.
Yeah, I can't unsee.
And of course, my mind's going boxers or briefs. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And my mind's going, where's the phone? I'm calling the police.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
NMRA election nominees.
A Modeler's Life is sponsored by Because I Love Sushi. You could love any old sushi, but would it love you back?
It's another Lincoln Homer.
That was a good one. NMRA election nominees. Nice.
Nice.
Nice.